Imagine a young woman standing alone in the quiet of a desert night, stars blazing above her small Arizona town, clutching a savings book that holds her dreams. For 5 years, she's poured every ounce of her soul into building a future, only to feel the weight of a family ready to tear it all down. This is the story of Ayanna Begay, a 27-year-old Navajo lab technician whose relentless sacrifices have carved a path to freedom, but a dark family secret lurks, threatening to unravel everything. From the first moment, you'll be hooked. How does one woman's courage stand against a storm of betrayal? Stay with me, because Ayanna's journey is one you won't forget. In the dusty outskirts of Kayenta, Arizona, where red rock mesas meet endless skies, Ayanna grew up in a weathered trailer home that creaked under the weight of her family's chaos. Her father, Tahoma Begay, was a charismatic but reckless mechanic, always chasing quick fixes for their crumbling finances. Her mother, Halona, a part-time clerk at the local trading post, enabled Tahoma's schemes, while her older brother, Cale, was the family's golden child, squandering every opportunity handed to him. The Begays were known in their tight-knit Navajo community as a family of big dreams and bigger debts, their trailer a revolving door for creditors and broken promises. From childhood, Ayanna saw the pattern. Tahoma and Halona lived paycheck to paycheck, racking up credit card debt and taking loans against their modest land. Late-night arguments about money echoed through thin walls, while Cale, for years older, mirrored their recklessness. By 16, he'd burned through a credit card Tahoma co-signed. By 18, he'd wrecked 2 trucks, replaced without question. By 20, he dropped out of tribal college, his tuition drained from family savings, leaving Ayanna to fend for herself. He's finding his way, Halona would say, brushing off Cale's failures. Ayanna, however, vowed to break free. At 18, she became a machine of determination. While her peers partied, Ayanna worked 3 jobs: mornings at a diner serving truckers, afternoons stocking shelves at a gas station, and nights entering data for a medical supply company. Every dollar went into a savings account for her education and, later, a dream wedding, a symbol of the secure future she craved. She earned a degree in medical technology from Northern Arizona University, maintaining a 3.9 GPA to keep her merit scholarship, all while working to avoid crushing loans. Her family offered no support. Tahoma claimed every spare cent went to Cale's potential. After college, Ayanna's frugality became legendary. She shared a cramped apartment with 2 roommates in Flagstaff, drove a 12-year-old Jeep she maintained herself, and packed lunches to avoid eating out. Her co-workers teased her for tracking every penny, but Ayanna had a vision: $5,000 for a wedding that would mark the start of a life free from her family's financial chaos. By 27, she'd saved every cent of it, a testament to her grit in a world that seemed to reward her brother's recklessness. Meanwhile, Cale chased one doomed venture after another: crypto scams, a failed food truck, even a bizarre scheme selling sacred energy crystals online. Each flop ended with Tahoma and Halona bailing him out, dipping into their meager retirement savings or taking shady loans. Ayanna watched, her resolve hardening. She met Sheila Tsosi, a kind-hearted software developer, at a health tech conference. Unlike others, Sheila respected her boundaries, admired her discipline, and shared her dream of a stable future. When they got engaged, Ayanna shared her wedding fund story, and Sheila, touched, added small contributions, though her savings remained the heart of it. But whispers of trouble were growing. Halona's calls became frequent, laced with cryptic hints about Cale's latest failure, a wellness app that tanked, leaving him $80,000 in debt. He's stressed, Ayanna, Halona would murmur. The world's tough on dreamers. Ayanna sensed the familiar setup. Her family was circling her savings like vultures. As she planned her engagement party at a stunning desert venue, with cacti silhouetted against sunset cliffs, a chill ran through her. Something was coming, something that could shatter her carefully built world. Would her family's desperation pull her back into their chaos, or was there a darker secret waiting to surface? The desert sun dipped below the horizon, casting a fiery glow over the sandstone cliffs of Kayenta's Red Mesa Lodge, where Ayana Begay's engagement party was set to unfold. The air buzzed with anticipation, fairy lights twinkling among the sagebrush as Ayana, radiant in a turquoise dress, stood hand in hand with her fiancé, Sheila Tsosi. This night was meant to be her triumph, a celebration of love and the future she'd built through years of sacrifice. But beneath the festive hum, a storm was brewing. Ayana's family, led by her father, Tahoma, and mother, Helona, was closing in, their eyes fixed on her $5,000 wedding fund. The stakes were higher than she knew, and a single demand would soon threaten to unravel everything. The venue was a vision of desert beauty, with hand-woven Navajo rugs draped over tables and mesquite-scented candles flickering in the breeze. Ayana had spent weeks planning every detail, from the cactus flower centerpieces to the fry bread appetizer stations she'd labeled in elegant calligraphy. Sheila's parents, Diami and Nasja Tsosi, arrived from the Hopi reservation, their warmth enveloping Ayana like a blanket. They gifted her a pair of silver earrings, passed down from Nazca's grandmother, a gesture that brought tears to her eyes. Friends from Flagstaff and colleagues from the medical lab filled the space, their laughter mingling with the soft strum of a guitar quartet. For a moment, Ayana felt untouchable, her dreams within reach. Then her family arrived. Tahoma, in a worn suit, scanned the venue with a calculating gaze, while Helona's smile was tight, her eyes darting nervously. Kale, her brother, slouched in a too-tight shirt, his phone buzzing incessantly. "Nice setup, Ayana," he muttered, avoiding her gaze. "Must have cost a fortune." She brushed off the jab, guiding him to the bar, but his anxious glances at their parents set her nerves on edge. Something was off, something big. As she mingled, introducing Sheila's family to hers, she caught Tahoma and Helona whispering urgently with Kale in a shadowed corner, their gestures sharp and secretive. The tension grew palpable. Helona's calls in recent weeks had carried a familiar undertone, hints about Kale's latest failure, a wellness app that had collapsed under $80,000 in debt. "He's in deep, Ayana," she'd said, her voice trembling. "These people he owes, they're not patient." Ayana had ignored the bait, but now, seeing her family's agitation, her stomach churned. Tahoma downed whiskey after whiskey, his face flushed, while Kale paced, checking his phone like a man expecting bad news. Even Sheila noticed, whispering, "Your folks seem on edge. Everything okay?" Ayana forced a smile. "Let's focus on us tonight," she said, but doubt nodded her. As the evening progressed, the party hit its peak. Sheila clinked his glass, silencing the crowd for a toast. His words were warm, recounting their first date, a clumsy spill of prickly pear juice at a Flagstaff cafe, and how Ayana's laugh had won his heart. He knelt, reproposing in front of their loved ones, slipping the ring onto her finger again. The crowd erupted, and for a fleeting moment, Ayana was lost in joy, the desert stars above mirroring the light in her heart. Friends shared stories, her lab partner praising her discipline, Sheila's cousin joking about his lovesick calls after their first date. The night felt perfect, but perfection was fragile. As dinner neared, Tahoma grabbed Ayana's arm, his grip firm, and steered her toward a secluded alcove near a towering saguaro. Helona and Kale followed, their faces a mix of desperation and guilt. "We need to talk," Tahoma said, his voice low but edged with menace. "Kale's in trouble, real trouble." Ayana's heart sank. "What kind?" she asked, already dreading the answer. Kale stared at the ground. "I owe people money. Bad people. They're threatening me, Ayana." Helona clutched her hands. "Your wedding fund could fix this. We know you have it." The words hit like a sandstorm, and Ayana pulled back, her mind racing. "No," she said firmly. "That's mine." Tahoma's eyes darkened, his breath heavy with whiskey. "You don't understand," he hissed. "These people know where you live. They know where you work." The threat hung in the air, chilling her to the bone. What had her family dragged her into? And what would they do if she refused again? The desert air at Red Mesa Lodge grew heavy as Ayana Begay stood in the shadowed alcove, her heart pounding under the weight of her family's demands. The fairy lights of her engagement party flickered in the distance, their glow mocking the joy she'd felt moments ago. Her father, Tahoma, loomed over her, his whiskey-soaked breath hot with urgency, while her mother, Helona, pleaded with tear-streaked eyes for Ayana to surrender her $5,000 wedding fund to save her brother, Kale. These people he owes aren't playing games, Tahoma growled, his voice laced with a threat that sent chills down her spine. Ayana's refusal had sparked a fire, and now, in front of 70 loved ones, that fire was about to explode into a moment of betrayal so shocking it would change everything. What could push a father to destroy his daughter's dreams so publicly? Ayana's mind raced as she stood her ground. "That money is for my future," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "I worked 5 years for it. Kale made his choices." Helona's sobs grew louder, her words desperate. "You could have a small wedding, Ayana. Save again later. Family comes first." Kale, silent until now, muttered, "They're threatening to hurt me, Ayana. You want that on your conscience." The manipulation was suffocating, but Ayana saw it for what it was, a lifetime of her family prioritizing Kale's failures over her sacrifices. She stepped back, ready to return to her guests, but Tahoma blocked her path, his face flushed with rage. "You selfish girl," he spat. "After all we've done for you." The alcove, though tucked away, wasn't far enough to hide their rising voices. Guests nearby began to turn, their chatter fading as they sensed the tension. Ayana's best friend, Tala, hovered at the edge of the crowd, her phone discreetly raised, capturing every word. Sheila, her fiancé, was across the venue, laughing with his cousin, unaware of the storm brewing. Ayana tried to defuse the situation. "Let's not do this here," she said, her voice low. "This is my night." But Tahoma's patience snapped. "You think your fancy party matters more than your brother's life?" he shouted, drawing more eyes. Helona grabbed his arm, whispering, "Robert, stop." But he shook her off, his eyes locked on Ayana. Then it happened, a moment etched in slow motion. Tahoma's hand rose, swift and furious, and cracked across Ayana's cheek with a sound that sliced through the desert night. The force sent her stumbling against a wooden trellis, pain blooming across her face as she tasted blood. The garden fell silent, 70 pairs of eyes frozen in horror. Sheila's parents, Diami and Nascha, stood with hands over their mouths. Tala gasped, her phone still recording. Ayana touched her stinging cheek, shock giving way to a strange clarity. Her father, the man who taught her to ride a bike, had just struck her in front of everyone she loved, for money she'd earned herself. Sheila sprinted across the venue, his face a mask of fury, placing himself between Ayana and Tahoma. "Don't you dare touch her again," he said, his voice shaking with restrained anger. Tahoma, momentarily stunned, recovered quickly. "This is family business," he slurred, stepping closer. "Stay out of it." Ayana straightened, her calm unnerving. "You're about to regret this," she said softly, her eyes blazing with resolve. She pulled out her phone, fingers trembling as she dialed 911. "I'd like to report an assault," she told the dispatcher, her voice unwavering despite the chaos. "At Red Mesa Lodge. My father just hit me." As sirens wailed faintly in the distance, Tahoma's bravado faltered, his face paling. Helona sobbed, "Ayana, no, please." Kale, silent, looked like he wanted to vanish into the desert. Guests whispered, some edging closer, others pretending not to stare. Tala rushed to Ayana's side, showing her the video she'd captured. "I got it all," she whispered. "You're not alone in this." But as the police lights flashed on the horizon, Tahoma's panicked shout echoed. "You don't know what you're starting, Ayana. These people KLOs, they'll come for us all." What had her family entangled themselves in, and how deep did this web of danger run? The desert night pulsed with tension at Red Mesa Lodge, the fairy lights casting eerie shadows as police sirens grew louder, slicing through the stunned silence of Ayana Begay's engagement party. Ayana stood resolute, her cheeks still burning from her father Tahoma's slap, her phone pressed to her ear as she reported his assault to the 911 dispatcher. The crowd of 70 guests, once bubbling with joy, now stood frozen, their whispers a low hum against the distant wail of approaching cruisers. Tahoma's threat about dangerous people Cale owed money to hung in the air like a gathering storm, hinting at a darkness far beyond family greed. Ayana's refusal to surrender her $5,000 wedding fund had ignited a fire, but her decision to call the police was about to spark a chain of revelations that would expose her family's deceit and pull her into a web of consequences she never imagined. What secrets would the authorities uncover, and would Ayana's courage hold against the fallout? As Ayana gave the dispatcher details, her fiancé, Sheila Tsosi, stood protectively by her side, his jaw tight with fury. His parents, Diami and Nazcha, flanked them, their faces a mix of shock and support. Tala, Ayana's best friend, clutched her phone, the video of Tahoma's assault ready to be shared. "You did the right thing," Tala whispered, squeezing Ayana's hand. Across the venue, Tahoma paced near the lodge entrance, his suit disheveled, muttering to Helona, who was sobbing into her hands. Cale, Ayana's brother, hovered nearby, his eyes darting nervously, as if expecting more than just police to arrive. The weight of his $80,000 debt and Tahoma's cryptic warning about creditors loomed, making Ayana's skin prickle. Were they really in danger, or was this another manipulation? 2 police cruisers pulled up, their red and blue lights painting the desert red rock in stark relief. Officer Lena Chuska, a calm Navajo woman with a notepad, approached Ayana first. "You reported an assault?" she asked, her tone professional but kind. Ayana nodded, her voice steady despite the ache in her cheek. "My father, Tahoma Begay, slapped me when I refused to give my brother my savings. There are witnesses and video." Tala handed over her phone, the footage clear, Tahoma's angry words, his raised hand, the crack of the slap. Officer Chuska's eyes narrowed as she watched. "This is solid evidence," she said. "Do you want to press charges?" Ayana hesitated, the weight of family loyalty tugging at her, but the sting on her face and years of their manipulation pushed her forward. "Yes," she said firmly. "I do." Across the lot, Officer Chuska's partner, Officer Yazi, approached Tahoma, who was now shouting, his voice slurred. "This is absurd. A father can't correct his daughter anymore," he bellowed, gesturing wildly. "She's putting her brother in danger over a little money." Officer Yazi, unfazed, asked him to calm down, but Tahoma's agitation grew. "You don't get it," he snapped. "These people Kalos, they're not the kind you cross." The officers exchanged a glance, sensing there was more to the story. Ayana, overhearing, felt a chill. What kind of people was her father involved with? Then Ayana remembered something crucial. "Officer," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos, "I installed security cameras around the venue for the event. Gifts, safety, everything. They should have caught the whole thing." Officer Chuska raised an eyebrow, impressed. "Smart move. Can we access them?" Ayana waved over the lodge manager, who led the officers to the control room. As they left, Tahoma's face paled, his earlier bravado crumbling. "You don't know what you're doing, Ayana," he muttered, his eyes darting to the desert beyond, as if expecting someone or something to emerge from the shadows. Sheila pulled Ayana close, pressing an ice pack to her cheek. "I'm so proud of you," he whispered. But what did he mean about those creditors? Ayana shook her head, her mind racing. "I don't know, but it's not just about Cale's debt. There's something bigger they're hiding." As the officers returned, confirming the cameras captured the assault from multiple angles, Tahoma was handcuffed, still protesting. "You're tearing this family apart," he shouted as they led him to the cruiser. But Helona's tearful plea to Ayana was what cut deepest. "Drop the charges, please. You don't understand what's coming if you don't help us." The words sent a shiver through Ayana. Was this just guilt, or was her family entangled in something far more dangerous than she'd ever suspected? The red and blue lights of police cruisers faded into the Kayenta night, leaving Ayanna Begay standing outside Red Mesa Lodge, her cheeks still throbbing from her father Tahoma's slap. The engagement party, once a beacon of her dreams, lay in ruins, its fairy lights now a cruel reminder of the betrayal that had unfolded. As Tahoma was driven away in handcuffs, his final words echoed in Ayanna's mind. "You don't know what you're doing, Ayanna." Her mother, Helona, had begged her to drop the charges, hinting at dangerous creditors tied to Cale's $80,000 debt. But it was Tahoma's panicked glance toward the dark desert that chilled her most, as if he feared more than just the law. Ayanna's decision to press charges had cracked open her family's facade, and now, a chilling discovery was about to reveal the depth of their deceit, a secret so dark it would rewrite everything she thought she knew about her family. What had Tahoma been hiding, and how far did this web of lies extend? As the remaining guests dispersed, their whispers heavy with shock, Ayanna leaned into Sheila, her fiancé, who held her tightly. His parents, Diami and Nazcha, stood nearby, their faces etched with concern. Tala, her best friend, showed her the video again, the slap replaying like a wound reopened. "This is enough to nail him," Tala said, her voice fierce. But Ayanna's thoughts were elsewhere, snagged on Tahoma's cryptic warnings about those people. Officer Lena Cheska returned from the lodge's control room, her expression grim. "The security footage backs your story, Ayanna," she said. "We're taking your father in for assault, but we need to talk about what he said. Those creditors he mentioned. Who are they?" Ayanna shook her head, her stomach nodding. "I don't know. Cale's business failed again, and apt this time. He owes $80,000, and my parents wanted my wedding fund to cover it." Officer Cheska's eyes sharpened. "Your father mentioned people you don't cross. That's not typical debt collector talk. We'll need to dig deeper." As the officers took statements from witnesses, Helona approached, her mascara-streaked face pleading. "Ayanna, please, you don't understand. Those men Tahoma borrowed from, they're dangerous. They've been to our trailer." Ayanna's blood ran cold. "What men, Mom? What's Dad involved in?" Helona looked away, her silence louder than words. The next morning, Ayanna's phone buzzed with a call from Officer Cheska. "We ran some checks on your father," she said, her tone careful. "He's been tied to an underground gambling ring operating out of Phoenix for nearly a decade. Not just betting, he's been recruiting players, taking a cut of the profits. It's how he's been funding Cale's ventures and covering his own debts." Ayanna sank onto her couch, the room spinning. "You're saying my dad's a criminal?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "He's in deep," Cheska replied. "And there's more. He's been using your name to borrow money from family, claiming it was for your education or medical bills. We're talking tens of thousands." The revelation hit like a sandstorm. Ayanna's aunt, Chenoa, called later that day, her voice heavy with regret. "I gave Tahoma $10,000 3 years ago for your supposed graduate school. I thought you never thanked me because you were ungrateful." Ayanna's heart sank. She'd never gone to grad school. Calls from other relatives followed. An uncle who invested $8,000 for her first home. A cousin who loaned $4,000 for a car repair after a fake accident. All told, Tahoma had siphoned nearly $35,000 using Ayanna's name, tarnishing her reputation across their Navajo community. Each call was a fresh stab of betrayal, her father's lies painting her as the ungrateful daughter. Sheila sat with her as she processed the news, his steady presence a lifeline. "He stole from everyone, Sheila," Ayanna said, tears falling, "and made them think I was the one taking." But the darkest twist came when Officer Cheska called again. "We found records linking Tahoma's gambling contacts to some of Cale's business accounts," she said. "Your brother may have been moving money for them, knowingly or not. We're bringing him in for questioning." Ayanna's breath caught. Was Cale complicit, or just another pawn in Tahoma's schemes? As she stared out at the desert horizon, a new fear gripped her. These creditors knew her name, her job, her life. Had her family's lies put her in their crosshairs, and what would they do to protect their secrets? The Kayenta dawn painted the desert in soft golds, but Ayanna Begay felt no warmth as she sat in her small Flagstaff apartment, the weight of her family's betrayal pressing down like a monsoon storm. Her father, Tahoma, was behind bars, his assault at her engagement party now overshadowed by the chilling revelation of his decade-long ties to an underground gambling ring. He'd used Ayana's name to swindle $35,000 from relatives, tarnishing her reputation, while her brother Kale's business accounts hinted at complicity in moving dirty money. Her mother, Halona's, desperate pleas to drop the charges echoed in her mind, laced with warnings of dangerous creditors who knew Ayana's name. As the truth unraveled, Ayana turned to therapy and her fiancé, Sheila Tsosi, to rebuild her shattered world. But the shadow of her family's past loomed large, and every step toward healing felt like a tightrope walk over a canyon of doubt. Could she set boundaries strong enough to protect her future, or would the ghosts of her family's sins pull her back into their chaos? Sheila brewed coffee in their modest kitchen, his quiet strength a balm to Ayana's frayed nerves. "You're not alone in this," he said, handing her a mug. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." His words grounded her, but the sting of betrayal lingered. Ayana had always been the responsible one, expected to clean up her family's messes, but now she saw the truth. Their demands were a cage, not love. She'd booked her first session with Dr. Kiona Yazzie, a Navajo therapist specializing in family trauma, hoping to untangle the knots of guilt and anger twisting inside her. In Dr. Yazzie's cozy office, lined with woven blankets and sage bundles, Ayana poured out her story, the years of sacrifice for her $5,000 wedding fund, Tahoma's slap, the gambling ring, the lies about her name. Dr. Yazzie listened, her eyes warm but piercing. "You've been gaslit your whole life," she said gently. "Your family normalized their dysfunction, making you feel selfish for having boundaries. Breaking free means redefining what family means to you." Ayana nodded, tears falling. "I thought I was the problem, too rigid, too cold. But I was just surviving." Dr. Yazzie's words were a lifeline. Surviving is strength. Now you get to choose who you let in. Therapy became Ayana's anchor, twice-weekly sessions peeling back layers of manipulation. She journaled memories that now burned with new meaning. Tahoma, borrowing, her first paycheck at 16, promising repayment that never came. Halona's excuses when Kale got a new truck while Ayana patched her worn shoes. The guilt trips when she skipped family events to work extra shifts. Each revelation was a step toward clarity, but also pain, as she mourned the family she'd thought she had. Sheila supported her without pushing, listening late into the night as she processed. "You're not just saving yourself," he said one evening, his voice soft. "You're building something new, something real." But the outside world pressed in. Halona's daily texts oscillated between guilt and panic. "Your father's devastated, Ayana. Those men are still calling our house." Ayana responded minimally, refusing to engage about money or Tahoma's case. Kale, meanwhile, sent a cryptic message. "I'm sorry, but you don't know the whole story. Be careful." The words sent a shiver through her. Was he warning her about the creditors, or something else? At work, Ayana noticed a strange car lingering in the lab parking lot, its tinted windows unreadable. Was it paranoia, or were the people Tahoma feared watching her? One night, as Ayana and Sheila walked home from a diner, a man in a dark jacket followed them, his steps deliberate. Sheila noticed first, pulling her closer. "Stay calm," he whispered, guiding her into a crowded convenience store. The man passed by, his face obscured, but the encounter left Ayana shaken. "What if those creditors know where I live?" she asked Sheila later, her voice trembling. He held her tightly. "We'll get a security system. We'll talk to the police. You're not facing this alone." The fear lingered, but so did her resolve. She was done being her family's scapegoat. As Ayana prepared for her next therapy session, her phone buzzed with a voicemail from Officer Chuska. "We've got new information on your father's case," the officer said, her tone urgent. "It's bigger than we thought, and Kale's more involved than he's letting on. We need to meet." Ayana's heart raced. What had Kale done, and how much deeper did this danger run? The answer could change everything, and the desert night seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her next move. The desert stars glittered coldly above Flagstaff as Ayanna Begay sat on her apartment balcony, clutching a mug of cedar tea, her mind swirling with Officer Chuska's latest voicemail. Her father, Tahoma, was entangled in a Phoenix gambling ring, his crimes staining her name across their Navajo community, while her brother, Cale, faced scrutiny for moving dirty money through his failed ventures. The lingering fear of shadowy creditors watching her, spurred by that dark-jacketed stranger tailing her and Sheila, kept Ayanna on edge. Yet, amidst this storm, a faint glimmer of hope emerged. Cale, the brother who'd always taken without giving, was showing signs of change. His cryptic apology and talk of a new start hinted at accountability, but Ayanna's heart wavered. Was this a genuine shift, or another manipulation waiting to pull her back into her family's chaos? As therapy fortified her boundaries, Cale's next move would test her trust like never before, and a single choice could unravel her fragile peace. Ayanna's sessions with Dr. Kiona Yazzie had become a sanctuary, each one peeling back layers of guilt woven into her by years of family dysfunction. "You've been carrying their burden since childhood," Dr. Yazzie said during their latest meeting, her voice a calm anchor. "Cale's change, if it's real, is his to prove, not your burden to trust blindly." Ayanna nodded, journaling another memory. Cale's 18th birthday, when Tahoma bought him a truck while Ayanna saved for college textbooks. The clarity hurt, but it also freed her. Sheila, her rock, listened as she processed late into the night, his quiet encouragement a reminder of the family she was choosing to build. Then came Cale's unexpected call, his voice rough but lacking its usual bravado. "I'm in over my head, Ayanna," he admitted. "The app collapsed because I trusted Dad's investors. Now I'm stuck, no money, no fancy apartment. I sold my truck, got a job at a bar in Gallup. I'm even looking at welding classes." Ayanna listened, her guard up. "Why tell me this?" she asked. Cale paused, his voice cracking. "Because I'm sorry. For the party, for everything. I took you for granted, and I see it now." The words were a shock. Cale had never apologized. But his next plea stirred doubt. "I just need a little help to keep these guys off my back. Maybe $2,000 from your fund? I'll pay it back." Ayanna's stomach tightened. Was this remorse or a new tactic? Sheila, home from work, overheard the call's end. "He's never paid back a dime," he said, his tone gentle but firm. "You don't owe him anything." Ayanna agreed, texting Cale a polite but firm refusal. "I'm glad you're trying, but I can't help with money. Go to the police if you're in danger." Cale's response was curt. "Fine, but you're making this harder," and it left her uneasy. That night, she spotted the same dark car in her apartment complex's lot, its engine idling before it sped off. Her heart raced. Was Cale's plea tied to the creditors, or was he playing a deeper game? The next day, Ayanna met Officer Chuska at a diner near the lab. "Cale's not just a bystander," Chuska said, sliding a file across the table. His app was a front for moving gambling money, small amounts, but enough to tie him to Tahoma's contacts. "He's not charged yet, but he's hiding something." Ayanna's mind flashed to Cale's apology. Had his remorse been a ploy to gauge her willingness to help before the police closed in? She shared his call and the strange car with Chuska, who noted it gravely. "We're watching those creditors," she said. "They're tied to a bigger network. Stay vigilant." Back home, Ayanna found a note slipped under her door, handwritten in Cale's scrawl. "I'm trying to fix this, but you need to watch your back. They're not done." Her hands shook as she showed it to Sheila, who insisted they install a security system that night. As cameras whirred to life, Ayanna felt a mix of fear and resolve. Cale's steps toward change were fragile, shadowed by his past and the danger he'd brought into her life. Therapy had taught her to protect her peace, but as she stared at the note, a question gnawed. Was Cale reaching out for redemption, or was he a pawn in a darker plan that could still destroy her? The desert wind whispered through Flagstaff's pines as Ayanna Begay stood in her apartment, clutching Cale's cryptic note. They're not done. Her brother's faint steps toward accountability, his apology, his bartending job, his talk of welding classes, were overshadowed by his ties to their father Tahoma's gambling ring and the shadowy creditors stalking her life. Therapy with Dr. Kiona Yazzie had fortified Ayana's boundaries, but the idling car in her parking lot and Kale's warning hinted at dangers still circling. With her fiancé, Sheila Tsosi, by her side, Ayana was redefining her dreams, trading a lavish wedding for a simpler, truer celebration. Yet, as she planned a new future, a final confrontation with her past loomed, threatening to shatter the peace she'd fought so hard to build. Would her family's ghosts pull her back, or could she step fully into the life she deserved? Ayana and Sheila sat on their balcony, the desert stars above a quiet comfort. "I don't want the big wedding anymore," Ayana said, her voice soft but certain. "It was about proving something to them, to myself. Now I just want us, our real people, no pretense." Sheila squeezed her hand. "Whatever you want, I'm in. A small ceremony, our closest friends, my parents. Let's make it ours." They settled on a modest gathering at Sedona's Crescent Moon Ranch, a sacred spot where red rocks met oak groves, using part of her $5,000 fund for the event, therapy, and a down payment on a small adobe house. The choice felt like freedom, a rejection of her family's obsession with appearances. Planning the wedding brought light back to Ayana's days. Sheila's mother, Nascha, joined her to pick a simple sage green dress, their shopping trip filled with laughter that healed old wounds. Diami, Sheila's father, offered to cover a honeymoon in a quiet coastal pueblo, a gesture that warmed Ayana's heart. But her family's shadow lingered. Halona's texts grew frantic. "Your father's plea deal means 18 months in prison. We're losing the trailer, Ayana. Please help." Ayana replied sparingly, offering only well wishes, guided by Dr. Yazzie's advice. "You can love them from a distance, but their choices aren't yours to fix." Kale, meanwhile, stayed silent after his note, his absence both a relief and a nagging worry. Then came the confrontation. A week before the wedding, Halona appeared at Ayana's apartment, her face haggard. "Your father wants to see you before he reports to prison," she said, her voice trembling. "He's sorry, Ayana. He just can't say it right." Against her instincts, Ayana agreed, needing closure for herself. At her parents' trailer, Tahoma sat hunched, his eyes hollow. "I messed up," he mumbled, avoiding her gaze. The gambling, the money, it got out of hand. No real apology followed, only excuses about pressure and Kale's debts. Ayana's heart sank, but she stood tall. "I hope prison helps you change, Dad," she said. "But I'm done carrying your mistakes." As she left, Halona grabbed her arm. "Those men are still out there," she whispered. "They know you didn't help Kale. Be careful." The warning haunted Ayana as she and Sheila finalized wedding plans. The night before the ceremony, she spotted the dark car again, parked across from their apartment, its driver a silhouette in the moonlight. Sheila called Officer Chuska, who confirmed the creditors were under investigation but urged caution. "They're tied to a bigger network," she said. "We're close to cracking it, but stay alert." Ayana's resolve hardened. She wouldn't let fear steal her joy. At Crescent Moon Ranch, under a canopy of oaks, she and Sheila exchanged vows before 30 loved ones. Tala's toast celebrated Ayana's strength. She's redefined family, choosing love over obligation. The day was perfect, but as Ayana danced with Sheila, a text from Kale buzzed her phone. "I'm out of their game, but they're not done with you. Watch your back." Her smile faltered. The creditor's shadow lingered, and a new question burned. What would it take to truly break free from her family's dangerous legacy? The crimson cliffs of Sedona's Crescent Moon Ranch glowed under the October sun, framing Ayana Begay and Sheila Tsosi's intimate wedding, a stark contrast to the chaos of her shattered engagement party months ago. Ayana's journey, from her father Tahoma's public assault to the revelation of his gambling ring and her brother Kale's entanglement, had forged her into a woman of unyielding strength. Therapy with Dr. Kiona Yazzie and Sheila's unwavering support had helped her set boundaries, reclaiming her $5,000 wedding fund and her peace. Yet, Kale's chilling text at her wedding, "They're not done with you," cast a shadow, hinting at creditors still lurking in the desert's edges. As Ayana shared her story with others, inspiring those trapped by family pressure, a final twist loomed, threatening to test her newfound freedom. Could she truly escape the dangers tied to her family's past, or was one last confrontation waiting in the wings? Ayana stood in her sage green dress, her vows to Sheila echoing with a calm certainty that anchored her. The 30 guests, Tala, Sheila's parents Diami and Nazja, and close friends, radiated love, their applause a balm to her wounds. Halona attended alone, subdued, her presence a tentative step toward mending their bond. She joined Ayana for 3 therapy sessions, slowly acknowledging her role as Tahoma's enabler. "You're beautiful," Halona whispered during their dance, her voice fragile. "I'm trying to understand, Ayana. Dr. Yazie's helping." Ayana nodded, cautious but hopeful, sensing her mother's sincerity. Tahoma, 2 months into his 18-month sentence, had sent a brief note via Halona. "Congratulations. Be happy." It was a small gesture, not enough, but Ayana tucked it away, no longer needing his validation. Her healing extended beyond family. Through Dr. Yazzie, Ayana joined an online support group for survivors of family financial abuse, their stories mirroring hers, parents demanding savings, siblings draining resources. She began volunteering at a tribal financial literacy program, teaching young Navajo women budgeting skills and sharing her story as a cautionary tale. "I thought saying no made me selfish," she told a group, her voice steady. "But it saved my life." The participants' nods and shared stories fueled her purpose, turning pain into empowerment. Her colleagues at the medical lab, once puzzled by her frugality, now admired her resilience, one gifting her a hand-woven basket for the wedding, a symbol of community. But the creditor's shadow lingered. Officer Chuska's updates grew ominous. The gambling ring was linked to a larger syndicate, and Kale's interviews revealed he'd knowingly funneled small sums through his app, though he avoided charges by cooperating. His bartending job and welding classes were real, but his text at the wedding unsettled Ayana. Was it a warning or a taunt? Late one night, as she and Sheila unpacked in their new adobe home, a knock startled them. A plain envelope sat on their doorstep, unmarked, containing a single photo. Ayana leaving the lab, time-stamped days ago. No note, just the image, its message clear, she was being watched. Sheila called Chuska immediately, who arrived within hours. "This is intimidation," she said, bagging the photo. "The syndicate's under pressure from our raids. They're trying to scare you." Ayana's heart raced, but she refused to crumble. "I won't let them control me," she said, her voice fierce. Chuska nodded. "We're close to dismantling their network. Stay vigilant, but live your life." Ayana clung to those words, her wedding's joy a reminder of what she'd fought for. As she and Sheila danced under Sedona's stars, Tala's toast rang true. Ayana's strength shows us family isn't obligation, it's choice. But as she smiled, the photo's weight lingered. The syndicate's reach was fading, but one final move could still upend her world. What would it take to silence her family's ghosts for good? The desert night wrapped Ayana and Sheila in a quiet embrace as they drove away from Crescent Moon Ranch, their wedding behind them, their new adobe home ahead. The stars above Sedona twinkled like promises, mirroring the peace Ayana had clawed back from her family's chaos. Her $5,000 fund, once a symbol of sacrifice, had become a foundation for a modest wedding, a house, and therapy that healed her soul. Tahoma's imprisonment, Halona's slow growth, and Kale's tentative steps toward accountability were no longer her burdens. The syndicate's photo was a fading threat, with Chuska's team closing in. Ayana rested her head on Sheila's shoulder, feeling the weight of her past lift. "We're building something real," she whispered. He kissed her forehead. "Always." Their future, rooted in respect and choice, stretched before them like the open desert, vast and free. Ayana knew challenges might linger, but she was ready. Her strength, her love, her boundaries unshakable. Hey, beautiful souls, Ayana's story hit me hard. It's raw, real, and a reminder that saying no to toxic pressure is saying yes to yourself. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family to protect your peace? Drop your story in the comments. I read everyone, and your courage inspires us all. If this resonated, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of strength and healing. Let's build a community where we lift each other up. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, stay true.